about wanting to know if anything had been done for Corky Foster. And if I even knew him, which I was not privileged to know him. But I said, no, nothing has been done, but it should be. And that's why I told him, come up here, we need to talk, because he wanted to know where we could do it, and I knew this was the exact spot that it needed to be done. So it is with deep pleasure and honor that I bring you greetings from the city of Welch. My office staff come over here today, my employees, and I want you to know my street department has went beyond the call. They have worked on this park and have it in tip-top shape. They did the concrete work so that the memorial could be mounted on it. I've been out ill, and they've done it all. I haven't told them a thing to do, so I do appreciate them, and also our council here. To those of you, and there's a lot of you that's never been to Welch before, I welcome you to our beautiful and friendly city. And I hope everyone has made themselves friendly today. I've tried to get around to some of you. And those of you that have traveled miles and come back to the place that you call home, we thank you. And to our residents that stay here and help us on a daily basis to make Welch a better place. And they have, and I appreciate them so much. We welcome you. When I first became mayor, and I can't remember who it was, a gentleman called me, and he said, I have been all over the United States. And he said, but I'm going to tell you, I've never been to a city that's been more patriotic than Welch, West Virginia. And for those of you who do not know, Veterans Day, our American Legion puts on the Veterans Day Parade, and it is the oldest one in the United States. And if you have not been able to come to our Veterans Day Parade, please do that, because it is quite an affair, and we love it. Abraham Lincoln once said, honor to the soldier and sailor everywhere who bravely bears his country's cause. Honor also to the citizens who care, and for his brother in the field that serves as best he can to the same cause. I thought that was so fitting, and that's why we're here today, to honor our Marine, Julius Corky Foster, who gave so much for our country and our city of Welch. We are so proud of Corky. And again, I welcome all of you to the city of Welch. I hope you have a very, very memorable day, and I hope you can take some good memories back with you. I know you hear a lot of anti-things about Welch and McDowell County, how bad we are, how distressed we are. It's not all true. So we are just so proud to be here and make things better. And I am proud to say I am the mayor of the city of Welch. Thank you all for coming.
I can't get used to calling her mayor. She's a friend of mine, so I always say thank you, Rita. And that's the way Welch is. I mean, we don't worry about the politics of things.
No.
There is supposed to be a gentleman here from the county commissioner's office. Harold McBride could not be here today, and he assured me that one of the county commissioners would be here. And is that county commissioner here? Well, apparently not, so I will say welcome to you from the citizens of McDowell County. When I do this, it takes me a minute to remember where I am. This is home to me, and it'll always be home to me. But I do live in another county, and I even write things. When I start writing about this, I start writing about New Hanover County, then I got to go back and scratch it out and go back to McDowell County. But anyway, thank you I'll make that thanks for the New Hanover, McDowell County. You got me saying it again, okay? Mr. Tim Ciali, would you come up, please? If you have a program, you will see in the program. Tim is a wonderful singer, and I have invited him to sing for us everything that comes up. You're on.
I have one excuse. We had a mechanical failure because I left my CD in the sun during lunch hour, and it kind of melted it. I'm going to have to do it without music. If you would bear with me. I had a very, I don't know how to say this. I was in Vietnam in 1966, and I left a lot of people behind. I never met anybody since then that was from my outfit. But I'll be doggone, about half an hour ago, I met a guy from my outfit. So him and I are going to spend a lot of time tonight talking. I got a lot making up to do. But thank you very much. And for my brothers of Marine Corps, I'm going to sing their song. Warm out here. I think that dog's trying to hone in on it. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battle in the air, on the land, and the sea. First to fight for the right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines. Hoorah, brothers!
Thanks, Jim. Let's see. Well, next, let's get down to the Corky business. That's what we're here for, is talk about Corky. And over the last year and a half, I have been able to find just dozens and dozens of people who knew Corky. And I've asked some of them to come up today and tell us about him and what kind of a rascal he was in high school. I've heard stories about him. It wasn't, maybe we shouldn't be repeated, but maybe we'll hear him again today. Talking about Corky in his high school year is going to be, Bill Hodges is going to be first, and then a lady by the name of Peggy Miller. I hope she's here. Have I seen Peggy today? Is she here? Okay, all right. And then Dr. Raymond Brown will speak. These two people were from his class. I would like, if we would please, for just a moment, all of those people from Welch High School from the 50s or 60s, or particularly Corky's class, 1956. If you were in his class, stand up for just a moment, please. Mr. Bill Hodges.
Good afternoon. Great to be here. Great to see the smiling faces. You know, all day I have felt the spirit of Corky Foster. As I drove here from Virginia, is that a little better? I thought a number of times, Corky is with us today. Before I go further, I'm going to ask one of my classmates from the class of 1956, my girlfriend, Dana Clark Hodges, to come up here, please. And I'll explain shortly why Dana is up here by my side. And while she's coming here, everything that I have achieved since 1958 when we were married, Dana has been by my side. We graduated together from Welch High School and we're both very, very dear friends of Corky Foster. This is the most ideal place for what is taking place today. The historic Cartwright Cemetery is about a half mile behind me. Corky lived in one of these houses on the hill behind me. Back in the early 50s, we built a cabin up here. Pre-adolescence boys. The Tug River, where we trapped muskrats together. And Reba, the Tug River was a filthy place in the 50s. As a matter of fact, when we caught muskrats, we had to shampoo them before we could skin them. Julius Cartwright Foster. Who was Corky? Who was Corky Foster? Corky was an individual. Corky did it his way, and every time I hear the song My Way by Frank Sinatra, I think of Corky Foster. He did his life his way, in his time frame, so he's an individual. Corky was a patriot. Corky loved Welch. Corky loved McDowell County and the state of West Virginia. Corky was a dear friend, not only to me and to Dana, but every member of the class of 1956, the classes before and the classes after. Corky liked to laugh by himself and with other people. And I'm going to tell a little story that I don't think he would mind not one iota. One hot summer day, and we did so many things together, but one hot summer day we were doing something, and I noticed Corky was going around doing things like this. And I said, "What in the world's wrong with you, Corky? You have ants in your pants?" He said, "No, but I wish Mama Jude would quit starching my underwear." And they lived right up the street from us, down on Riverside Drive. I could go on and on, but it's hot, and I'm going to cut out a number of things that I thought I would say. We double dated with Corky and Peggy Mayhew Miller a number of times. A couple of our favorite places, one happened to be a Starland Theater, and I guess we did see some of the movies while we were there. We went out to the Sterling Drive-In. One more story. One hot summer day, my dad was a Kiwandian, and they had Son's Day that night. And Corky called and said, "Bill, let's go out to Indian Creek." Somehow he got an old Model A Ford, and we rode out toward Indian Creek. Somebody had run over a rattlesnake. Well, we had to stop and skin it out so we'd have it. I think he pushed the car as much as he drove himself. And after decided we would go skinny dipping. No one around, so we went skinny dipping. All of a sudden, a van load of church girls came by. And I don't know what kind of leader they had, But the leader couldn't convince those girls to get back in the bus and leave. So I was late for the Sun's night, which I explained and had a pretty good excuse. But and this is the reason that I want Dana up here. Back in 1957, 58, on February 22nd, we got a letter. The letter was from Corky Foster. We received the letter from Corky same day that he was killed in Vietnam. I've wondered for almost 50 years, and we would correspond back and write short notes to each other. But this was a 2-page letter explaining the war in Vietnam, the trouble that he was having with his feet, and no wonder he had walked 404 miles before going over there. When Dana and I were married on September the 4th, 1958, I said 58, I meant 68, 67, but I've got excuse. We had some time. I'm getting old. When Dana and I were married on September the 4th, 1958, Corky was by my side. Corky gave me a penknife and a penny that day, of which I still have both. Thank you for this opportunity. God bless each one of you. Thank you for being here. God bless you.
Dr. Raymond Brown, a member of the class of 56, also a Vietnam veteran, is here to talk to us a little bit about Corky.
I don't have all the stories that Bill told you about Corky. I think they did a lot of stuff together as they got older, but I knew Corky as a kid, true kid. We lived in the same apartment and did a lot of stuff together, and knew his brother and Unky quite well. The year that I spent in Vietnam, October 69 to October 70, in the 95th Tobacco Hospital, I was involved as Chief of Anesthesia and Operating Service in the 95th. I was totally unaware that my high school, grade school, and long life friend had passed away. Vietnam was a terrific situation for those that, particularly those like Corky, that gave their all. And we only hope that what was done there will live on. It seems this time that perhaps it will. You know, I certainly, as an individual and as a veteran, appreciate what McDowell County has done for the veterans, for the Vietnam veterans, and for the veterans of World War I, II, and the Korean War. Thank you very much.
Well, you know, what a lot of people don't know, Bill told me this, I didn't know it for a while, but you know, Corky graduated from high school in 1956, and he didn't graduate from college until 1967. Took him 11 years to get out of school. But I think I've heard the story that he went to the University of Virginia for a while. Probably didn't do very well up there. He left there. He went to Concord University. Didn't do well up there. And then he floundered around a little bit. Went some different places. Worked for the federal government for a while. And then he went to West Virginia University to enroll, and I think he told them that he had never been to school because, as I understand it, if they had found his records from Concord and the University of Virginia, he would have never got in. But anyway, he got in, and he graduated in 1967, in March of '67. We're going to talk a little bit. I'm not that tall. These other guys are. Talk a little bit about Corky school years, and then his years at West Virginia University. I was fortunate enough. I think I've been in contact with about 10 or 12 of his fraternity brothers. I think several of them are here today, and I hope they're here. And I don't know who I've seen and who I haven't seen, but I think Jim Sims, Jesse Scott, and Gordon Wright. I hope you're all here. And if you would, come on up and let's talk a little bit about Corky, what he did while he was at the University of West Virginia University.
First of all, I'd just say thanks to Bud for all he's done today. Corky was a dear friend of mine. He was a dedicated person, as anyone who knew him. He loved Welch County. He loved West Virginia. He was a dedicated person. One of the things I remember about Corky, he had to work his way through school. And I'll just tell you one story is, Corky was a head waiter at one of the dorms, and he had to get up at 5:30 every morning to go to work. And I lived across from him, and I'd hear him getting up at 5:30, and he did that every morning. And finally, he got me a job there, and I worked probably for 2 or 3 weeks. I couldn't take 5:30 in the morning. I could barely make it to 8 o'clock class. But Corky did. He was a dedicated person. He was a great friend, and I miss him.
I'm Gordon Wright, and as Bud said, I'm a fraternity brother of Corky's, and also happened to have a tour in Vietnam that overlapped with his. I was lucky enough to rotate in January of 1968, just a few days or weeks before Corky passed. But in any event, I want to tell you a little story about Corky's college days. Of course, he had just come back, he just finished a 6-year hitch with the Marines. And by the way, I served in the Army. I hope the Marines will let me talk here today. But anyway, in those days, Corky had a strong esprit de corps feeling. And he'd gone to a couple of football games, and he kind of thought that the student body wasn't really doing their part. So, you know, the Mountaineer team, football team, always did have a mascot, the Mountaineer, with a muzzle loader that would fire off a shot, you know, after every time the team scored. Well, he thought that there should be a little more than that, and he thought that he would take a muzzle loader and have an echo to the shot that the Mountaineer fired. And he had a muzzle loader that he claimed belonged to his grandfather, and he said he called it a squirrel gun. But anyway, in those days there wasn't a whole lot of security. And they did have what was called a campus police force, but we knew all of them. In fact, the head guy that was the runner of the chief of that police force, we called him John Law, and he was familiar with our fraternity, and we had a little relationship with him. So Corky was able to take the muzzle loader to the ball game and walk right in with it, you know, because John Law didn't care. He said he's not going to do anything with it. And if anybody asked him, he says, well, this is a backup to the Mountaineer. In case his muzzle loader doesn't work, then I'll give him this one. Well, everything went all right until the Mountaineers scored their first touchdown, and the mascot, the Mountaineer, he shot his gun off, and Corky was right behind him. And as all of you folks know that have heard small arms fire, every small arm has a distinctive muzzle report an M1, M14 carbine, they all sound different, and you all can tell them as soon as you hear them. Well, a muzzleloader definitely has its own report as well. And it's sort of like a big cherry bomb, you know, that you used to throw out there on July 4th. So he shot it off, the smoke rolled, and the noise was carried everywhere, and people were jumping up, and they were looking at what in the world is going on. And this time, the security police for the university, they didn't show up. State cop showed up. State cop, he wasn't putting up any bullshit. And so he tried to take the muzzle loader from Corky. He says, we're going to impound that weapon. Corky says, no, you're not. That belonged to my grandfather. And so we're back a little exchange of words there. And, of course, the rest of us were just standing around having a good time. And finally they worked out a truce. Corky would leave the stadium, but he got to keep the muzzle loader. And so he like we said earlier, he had a way of doing things, and when he wanted to do them his way, he did them his way. And I guess the reason I'm telling you all this is because it kind of typifies the character that he had. He felt that the student body should have a common cause that supported the football team for a unified approach. And when it came to the Army, the war, he felt the same way. He felt that the United States of America should support the war, and he gave his life for it. And I salute him.
I'm Jeff Scott, and grew up in Salem, West Virginia, and then went to West Virginia University in 1962. And there I met Corky in the spring of 1964. We both pledged fraternity together, went through that semester together, and then went the fall, around right before Labor Day, before school started, we went through Hell Week together. Hell Week wasn't fun, but it wasn't what you may read about today for some of the tragic things that go on at a time like this. So we made it through that, and at the end of Hell Week, when school was starting, Corky and I roomed together for that year. I got to know Corky pretty well and had a lot of respect for him. At that time, I was 19 or 20 years old, and Corky was 25, 26. And all of us guys would call him the old man, and he kind of tickled and was humored by it. But I guess when I look back, everything's in perspective, because what I would look at as a 25 or 26-year-old now is probably a grandson, as opposed to somebody I was going to school with and living with. But as I said, I respected him a lot, and he had a lot of good traits that I tried to implement into my life. He was well respected, and he was ambitious and energetic. Corky wanted to be a lawyer, and at that time, most of the students that were preparing to go to law school was taking political science. Well, also, to go through that curriculum, you had to have 4 years of foreign language. Corky took French. So I remember that first semester, he spent a lot of time at a place I wasn't familiar with, but it was called the library. He would go there an awful lot and study, and French was giving him a hard time, but he put a lot of time and effort into it. And at the end of the semester, the grades come out and everything, and he was dejected. And he said, I didn't make it, didn't pass. So he said, take it again next semester. Well, he took it again the following semester, put the same hours in, worked hard, and at the end of the semester, he got his grades and he passed. He got a D. I said, that's great work. Now you can move on. You only got 2 more semesters. He said, no, you got to do this thing right. If I can only get a D in it, he said, I'm not ready to move on. I'm going to take it again. And that's just the way he was. He wanted things done right. And as I think Bill said, he did it his way, and his way was usually right. One of the things when we were there, I was on my own. If I wanted to go home for the weekend or something, I had to hitchhike. If I go home for a holiday or something. But Corky, having been around, Corky had a car. It was nice to have a roommate that had a car. Well, this car that he had, he called the Green Machine. And it was, I think it was a 1950 Plymouth. I know it was a Plymouth. And if it wasn't a 1950, it was even older than that. So we had a lot of fun in that car, and one of the things we look forward to was going out to a place that we like to hang out on the weekend on cheap nights. And the only disadvantage for Corky was, I was free all day, but Corky was waiting tables. He couldn't go until after the lunch meal was served, so we'd get out there in the early afternoon. But he was, I remember, very persistent and very dedicated to his cause and to the cause. He also was politically motivated. Well, at the time, I could care less about politics. Didn't know the difference between a Democrat and a Republican. Corky did. Corky was one of the leaders in the group on campus, the Young Republicans. And he was very instrumental into getting Barry Goldwater on campus that fall before the election. And he worked really, really, really hard at that and did well at that. And I wanted to mention that I live in Hurricane, West Virginia, and each spring there's a ride to the wall. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but the bikes start out in California and guys group in with them as they come along. And in Hurricane, they spend the night there at one of our parks. And this year I was out there to welcome and greet them, and I don't know if it's the same one or not. That looks permanent, but they had a portable wall that they have in at the state capitol of veterans who gave the ultimate sacrifice. And they, you could definitely look at it and everything, and they had some paper there, and like chalk. And you could put the paper up there and rub it across, and the name would come out. And if somebody would like it, I bought one for myself, and I bought one with Corky's name on there. And it was just a privilege and an honor to be there for him. And typically I'm not sentimental, as some of my family are, so I don't dwell on things and try to say things a lot. But when this day's over, it's going to relieve a lot of stress from me. And the reason is, last year around Christmas time, when I was getting stuff out for decorations and so forth, I happened to see in a box that I had a letter from Corky. He had just gotten to Vietnam about a month before and was relating some things that were going on and some things that frustrated him and what was going on in the young people. And when we were in school, we had draft dodgers and people going into Canada, people burning draft cards, and that really got under his skin. That may be one of the things that led him to march down to re-enlist. But at any rate, I saw that letter last Christmas time, and I was talking to Bud earlier this year. This probably been 4 or 5 months ago. I was talking to him, and I thought, boy, I'd like to get that and share some of the thoughts that he had with me. And so I began to look for it. And this past week, I really worked overtime looking for it, and I could not come with it. So after this day's over, I won't have to look for it. I'll probably find it here real soon, or at least maybe the Christmas time. I appreciate everything that you all have done making this day possible to remember Corky. And also, if you're interested, I have a couple of school pictures that I'll leave with somebody to. He doesn't quite look like he does on this program. He's a very handsome young man there. He doesn't quite look like this because this was probably 5 or 6 years later. But I've got pictures from a couple of different years that I'll be glad to leave with you. And again, I thank you all for putting this together with Corky. Nice to see you all.
These tall guys get up here and then I have to put it back down. Got another special guest here today. I think she's special. I talked to her. She was a very good friend of Corky's, I guess, for the full 4 years that he was at the university. And when the fraternity brothers were sending out these letters, I think she had one of the ladies was related to the fraternity brother. And I'm going to get her name wrong, but that's all right. She don't mind. Her name is Kay Cummings Getzinger. I hope I got it close. She's from West Virginia University also. close.
I'm Kate Muncie, Jeff Singer. My dad was a retired Army colonel, and I can remember my mother saying when they would go through the receiving lines that it would start out with Muncie and end up as Comanches, Comanches, or whatever. So I'll answer just about anything. I dated Corky, and we had some wonderful times at Spice Steakhouse, and then we realized that we were really good friends. He got me involved in student politics at WVU. He got me involved in being a Goldwater girl. He made me see what politics was all about, because I really wasn't getting much out of my poli-sci class. And I guess the reason I'm a conservative Republican today is because of Corky, so it's all his fault. I left school and went to work for a congressman from Michigan. Congressman Esch was from the 2nd Congressional District, and he was a liberal Republican. And one of my jobs was to write the condolence letters to those families who had lost members in Vietnam. And another one of the 5 gigs was Bill Davis, who was the press secretary to Senator Jennings Randolph. And Bill was a good friend. And naturally, we stayed in touch on the Hill, and he would call me and say, "Did you look over the printout?" It would be on my desk the first thing in the morning. And they were in alphabetical order by state and then alphabetical order by last name. And of course, my boss was from Michigan, but I immediately went to West Virginia and just prayed the whole time that no one was there that I knew. I had seen Corky in May. I'm from Morgantown, and we were standing outside the book exchange on Willie Street, and he told me he was going back in the Marine Corps, and I said, "Corky, you don't have to do that. Please don't." And he said, "It's something I have to do." But I made him promise that day that he would come back. And he said, "Of course I'm going to come back, because I'm going to be governor of this state, and you're going to be my campaign manager." Well, Bill Davis called me one morning as I was making the congressman's coffee, and I hadn't had a chance to look at the death notices yet. And he said, "Are you sitting down?" And I said, "Well, I will now." He said, "Have you looked at the notices?" And I said, "No." He said, "Don't." And I said, "Who is it?" And he said, "It's Corky." Well, I was done for the day. Not only did I lose a good friend, you guys lost a wonderful fraternity brother. The state of West Virginia lost. Corky wouldn't have just stopped being governor. He would have been a senator, maybe even president. He was honorable, he was fun, he was smart, he was everything that those of us who have children or will have children would want our sons to be. And I'm very, very honored to be here today. Thank you, Bud. Thank you all for being here. Welch, you had a great son.
Mr. Tim Ciotti, would you please come up for me, please? This is going to be a pleasure for you folks, I can tell you that.
To all the Americans who love this country, love that flag, and love their veterans, probably no place in this country I hope that doesn't. It's a special song for all of my veteran brothers, my Marine brothers, and Americans. Go ahead, dear. with me for a second. I guess the sun's got a de-amplifier too, then. Oh boy. Okay, I'm gonna do it the hard way. If tomorrow all the things were gone I worked for all my life, and I had to start all over with just Jesus and my wife, I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause our flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget those who died and gave that right to me, and I'll gladly stand up next to you and discover here today, there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the hills of Minnesota to the shores of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, New York to L.A. There's pride in every American heart. That's why we're here to say, I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget those who died and gave that right to me, and I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her here today. There ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. I thought you people were hot. Lee Greenwood, not me. If tomorrow all the things were gone I worked for all my life, and I had to start all over with just Jesus and my wife, thank my lucky stars to be living here today. Our flag still stands for freedom. They can't take that away. I'm so proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. I won't forget those who died, gave that right to me, and I'll gladly stand up next to you, defender here today. There ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, Detroit down to Houston, New York to L.A. There's pride in every American heart. That's why we're here to say, I knew it. Y'all join me. I'm proud to be an American. At least I know I'm free. And I won't forget those who died and gave that right to me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you, defender, here today. There ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. If you can't sing with me, make a noise. I'm proud to be an American. At least I know I'm free. I won't forget those who died and gave that right to me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you, defender, here today. There ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. God bless you. I love you. Sorry about the heat.
Now you know why I got him here. Tim and I are good friends, have been for, I think, about 2 months now. Oh, wait, well, maybe it was
4 weeks.
4 weeks. Now, we've known each other for a long while. We're in the same Marine Corps League detachment in Wilmington, North Carolina. This next part is about Corky and his time, Marine Corky Foster. Unfortunately, I had some people listed in here. Well, I didn't list his commanding officer. But over the years, I was able to trace down 4 or 5 of Corky's brothers. And I want to tell you about how we did that. When I first started working on this, I had to figure out what company he was from in Vietnam. And I found that. Echo Company, 2nd Battalion, 26th Marines, 3rd Marine Division. So I Googled that on my chart, and lo and behold, up came 2 names. One of them was a gentleman who's here today, and I won't mention his name just yet, but his name was there, and it was a corpsman's name there. And there was a story there about a Marine who had been killed in Vietnam, and his father had placed an American flag at his grave. And this had been just 30 or 40 years that flag had flown. It had never not been there. And the story was that he was getting on in age, and they didn't know what they were going to do when he passed away about keeping that flag going. Well, a Marine and a corpsman got a hold of it, and that Marine and a corpsman went to South Carolina to see I think the gentleman that was there, and they assured him that as long as there was a Marine Corps League detachment, that flag would continue to fly ever after, even after the gentleman's death. That gentleman is Larry McCartney, Master Gunner Sergeant, U.S. Marine Corps. He's from Western North Carolina. He's a world traveler. Every time I try to get a hold of him, he's somewhere else in Michigan or someplace else. Larry, would you please come on up?
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for having me here today. I'd like to tell you a little bit something about the Corky Foster I knew. In August of 1967, I was finishing off my recruit training as an 18-year-old private when Corky was walking from his home here in Welch to Camp Lejeune. He got done with his walk and went through infantry training at Camp Lejeune. At the time, I went through infantry training at Camp Pendleton, California. There was a 3-week follow-on program called PITS,
and that was tied into the infantry training that we went to. And the Marine Corps, in their infinite wisdom, gave Corky a set of orders to do BITS at Camp Pendleton, California. And that's where I met him. He was a 29-year-old Lance Corporal among a bunch of 18, 19, and 20-year-old privates. And it was quite a cultural shock for all of us. You know, back in those days, you know, when you're 18, 19 years old, somebody who's 29 years old is an old man. Boy, don't I wish I was 29 again. So we went through that 3-week training program together, and Corky was our training student leader, our training platoon sergeant. And after we got, and I went through a few of the different training scenarios with them, so I knew them, but not well. You know, passing acquaintance and knew each other by name. Well, at the end of that training period, most of us went home on our initial leave in preparation for going to Vietnam, and Corky reported to what we call our staging battalion for processing of going to Vietnam. I got done with my leave and reported to staging and went to Vietnam, and I was assigned to Echo Company, 2nd Battalion, 26th Marine Regiment, where I was put in 3rd Platoon. And I had been there a week or so, and your life in the infantry, when you're in the infantry, revolves around your squad, which is 1/3 of a platoon. So you know your squad members and a lot of your platoon members, but you don't know people in the other platoons. Well, I'd been in country about a week, and we were going to what we called in those days the mess hall, and all of a sudden I heard, "Larry McCartney." I turned around, and it was Corky. He was in 1st Platoon Echo Company. And so we renewed our acquaintance and, you know, passing friendship, didn't really know each other well. But 2 stories that I can tell you that really describe him and the Marine I knew to a T. The very first one was within a week after reconnecting with him, we had gone out on a patrol, and we were returning from the patrol, and we were back on board the base, but about a good mile away from our staging area. And so people, you know, they weren't maintaining the route march discipline that we would in the field. And I was having a ton of problems with my gear. I hadn't really learned how to secure it, how to tie it down quite right, because there were so many different pieces of gear, and there were a ton of tricks, and my gear was falling off. And so I stopped to try to reattach it, and guys were walking by me, they just kind of chuckling, and they say, "You'll learn, boot. You'll learn, boot." We call people boot when they were new in country, because you could tell they were new in country because they were wearing new boots. And that's the only time you got boots. It's when you got in country. And if you've been in country for about 9 months, you could tell somebody had been in country for 9 months by the look of his boots. So anyway, they're all walking by me going, and they're saying, "You'll learn, boot. You'll learn, boot." And Corky stopped. He didn't say, "You'll learn, boot." He taught me how and where and what kind of knots to use to tie things down so they didn't fall apart. And after we got done, we picked up our gear, and he picked up some of my gear. We finished the march in, and by the time we finished the march in, we had caught up a bunch of stragglers. And I wanted to say, "You'll learn, boot," but I kind of looked at Corky, and I saw that look on his face, and so we just kept right on marching. And the second story I wanted to tell you about is about a month and a half or 2 months later, maybe a month and a half later, the first incident had occurred at a place called Phu Bai, and that was near the imperial city of Hue, if you know anything about the geography of Vietnam. Well, we'd been there. I'd been in country about a month when we left Phu Bai, and we went up to Khe Sanh. And a lot of people, of course, well, that's where Corky was killed, so I'm sure most people here know a little bit about Khe Sanh. And after a couple of days there, Echo Company was put on top of Hill 861 Alpha. And that hill had never been set in on before, so nothing was dug in. We had to dig in ourselves. And Corky was always one of those guys that was on the working place, digging the holes, filling the sandbags, stringing the barbed wire, and not saying anything, just leading by example. We got, all of our supplies had to come up on the hill, by helicopter. And food, ammunition, even water. There wasn't even a water point up there. So we had very little water, in the beginning while they were still working out the logistics of getting enough of it up to us. And when I'd see Corky on working parties, he'd be carrying food, he'd be carrying water, he'd be carrying supplies up to work, from the LZ to where they were staged so that we could use them to build our defenses. And just not saying anything, just leading by example. 29 years old, and he's out there putting us 18 and 19-year-olds to shame with the way with his work ethic. Well, on the morning of February 5th, we had only partially dug in, and the North Vietnamese Army hit us, and they hit us hard, and they penetrated a hole in our perimeter, and Kate went over some of the guys and got into the middle of the perimeter. They hit in the 1st platoon area. Like I said, I was in 3rd platoon. So the 1st platoon, they merged and filled up that gap, and they stopped the rest from getting in, and those of us from 2nd and 3rd platoon swept the hill and got rid of the others. There were 8 Marines killed that morning, and 25 to 30 wounded. And as soon as I realized what was happening, my first thought was, I wonder how Corky is. So I walked around to his hole, and he wasn't there. I said, I won't tell you what I said, because there's some ladies there. And I looked at one of the guys, I said, where's Corky? And I said it just long enough, loud enough, that he said, I'm over here. They had stretched their lines, because they had lost people, so they stretched their lines so they could still fill in. So I walked over, and I saw him, and I talked to him, and saw he was okay. And I found out about the battle that morning, how the North Vietnamese Army had hit and tried to penetrate and try to overrun, and those guys held their ground and fought back and kept us from getting overrun. And Corky was, again, one of those in the leaders of making sure the job got done. He died 19 days later. I think I saw him 2 or 3 times in the interim. And it was always, hey Larry, how you doing? I'm doing good, Corky, how are you? I'm doing just wonderful. I'm doing great. Never complained at all. His feet were killing him something fierce. But he never complained. He had the work ethic and the maturity and the leadership by example that was really a godsend for all of us. We had good leaders, but when you have peer leadership like Corky Foster and a bunch of others, then you got it all. God bless you, Corky. Semper Fidelis.
Folks, it's getting hotter and hotter out here. Let's see, where are we in the program? Okay. Barry Fixer was supposed to be here today. He's not here. I don't know where he is, but he told me he would be here. He was from the same unit. Barry wrote a book. It's a very interesting book if you're interested in what really happened in a war zone. He was a young PFC private, Lance Corporal, and eventually a sergeant who served in Vietnam. And he wrote a book that was called Semper Cool. You know, the motto of the Marine Corps is Semper Fidelis. Well, his book is Semper Cool, and it talks about how the Marines really did up there. I was hoping he'd be here today. He's not here. If you're interested in some good reading, the book is called Semper Cool, K-O-O-L, by Barry Fixner, and one of the things about the book, and I think it tells you in there, that is all of the profits from that book go to a program that he has established himself for Wounded Warriors. It's not the Wounded Warrior program, but it's a program that he has established. As I hear it now, there's millions of dollars in that, not from his book sales, by the way, but from people who knew him and knew what was going to happen. The last story I'll tell you was I had been in contact with Corky's commanding officer, had talked to him several times, and I knew he was in bad health, and I just didn't know what was going to happen. I invited him to come, and he said he would come, and then when I called back, he said, my sergeant major won't let me come. That was his wife. So anyway, I was just told by Larry here a couple of days ago that on August the 7th, Major Earl Breeding, United States Marine Corps, passed away in Arizona, in New Mexico, where he lived. And I had talked to him, and he told me, he said, I didn't know Corky, but after he left the unit, I knew about him because everybody was telling him about what Corky had done. So Corky is known worldwide, I can tell you that. Mr. Honecker, if you're around, I'd like for you to tell us a little bit about what we're doing here and why this park is here. And we hope to get along on this just a little bit here, okay?
I'm Charles Honecker. I'm commander of VFW Post 8413. And what I want to talk to you about is our French gratitude training. That was a gift given to each state in the Union. On February the 7th, 1949, the people of West Virginia received this boxcar from the people of France as a gift to recognize and thank the soldiers from West Virginia who served in France during World War I. There were 49 of these cars that came to the United States, one for each state and one for the District of Columbia. In 1994, this car was found in an open field in St. Albans, West Virginia. And on June the 6th, 1996, this car was moved to Welch, West Virginia, and taken to the McDowell County Vocational School and was rebuilt from the wheels up. In the fall of 1996, it was moved to its present location. People from different areas have come to visit our French gratitude train. And I have been driving by and I have seen cars here from several different states. This project was undertaken by the local 40 and 8 chapter and also Voyager 1171 Veterans Organization. I have a list here of the guys that were involved in making this a reality, some of which are now deceased. Russell Burge, who was chairperson of 1144 Voyager Group. Richard Pickett, Voyager 1171. James Dodson, Voyager 1171. James Goode, 1171. James Burris, Voyager 1087. And James K. Norris, Voyager 1459. I have been asked many, many times what 40 and 8 stands for. It's my understanding that they put 40 troops in that car. Imagine, guys, 40 guys with full combat packs in that car, 40 soldiers, 8 horses, 8 mules. It's my understanding that we only have a very few of these cars left. We've had this one rebuilt once since 1996 when it was put here. We had it painted, had some new wood replaced, and also the covers. But anyhow, that is the story of part of the story of this park. It's our French gratitude train. Thank you.
Okay, Miss Peggy Sports, is she here still? Peggy? There she is. Peggy's going to talk to us about the memorials in this park that her group got together. And I'll let her tell you about it. Peggy, thanks.
In 1988, one of our members of the auxiliary wanted to erect a monument here in the name of her son. And we took this back to our meeting, and we voted no. If we were going to build a monument, we were going to include all the veterans that was killed in McDowell County. So this is what we did. When we erected this in World War II, we have World War I, World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam. As I say, all of these men died in service. And we had their president at the time of our auxiliary was Beth Jones, so she appointed some members to be on this committee. And Betty Spencer was on this, Peggy Swartz, Emily Yeager, Rita Fairbanks, Carolyn Bailey, and Linda Day. This monument was designed by Jeff Allen of Welch. And of course, to make our money, we had a lot of spaghetti dinners. I'm sure people got fed up with our spaghetti dinners, but they supported us. And then we sent letters to all the lawyers, all the businesses, all the doctors, and things. We used to have a lot in this town. So this is how we raised our money. And we would ask other people. There was something in the paper about every day or every week as to what we were doing. And so this is how we collected our money. Even a lot of people donated that their sons was on this monument. In 1 year, folks, we raised $36,000. That was really, we worked hard on it. And on May the 6th, 1989, our dream came true. The American Legion Post 93 of Sarita Canova gave the everlasting service with their task, and this was a very emotional thing. And of course, one thing I'm going to say, it is hot here today, but when we dedicated this monument, it had rained the night before, it had rained all that morning, and we thought, oh, this is going to be a terrible ceremony. But it wasn't. At 1 o'clock, the good Lord up above cleared up the skies, the sun came out, and after the dedication, I'm sorry folks, it rained again. So he was with us, and this is how we got our monument started. Thank you.
We have a couple of presentations to make today. I have called Senator Manchin's office. Some of the people that knew him had called him and was trying to get him down here to do some things. And unfortunately, I guess you might say, he was unable to do so. But he did send a representative and to present to us now the message from the Senator, Michael Browning. Come on up, Mike.
Thank you all for having me here today. I have worked with Bud and Mayor Honaker since the start of this, and I'm proud to be here today on behalf of the Senator. I want to thank Senator Mark Maynard for being here today. We've got Kim Gross from Governor Tomlin's office, who was very instrumental in getting the bridge painted. She worked from day one on that. I want to thank her. And we've got Chad Story from Congressman Jenkins' office, and you'll hear from him in just a second. I bring greetings on behalf of Joe Manchin, who was not able to be here today. On behalf of the citizens of the Mountain State and as your United States Senator, it is my distinct honor to welcome those attending this special dedication in honor of Julius Corky Cartwright Foster. As we come together today, let us not forget the sacrifices made by the men and women who have come before us, the great people who have served our nation so bravely. I thank all the veterans and family members in attendance today for the sacrifices they have made to preserve the freedoms we hold dear. life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. A native of Welch, Julius served in Vietnam in the U.S. Marine Corps as a Lance Corporal in the E Company 2nd Battalion Marines, 3rd Marine Division, 3 MAF. I truly appreciate the efforts of all those who have made this dedication possible. Julius will be memorialized through the bridge as well as through a monument at the Welch Memorial Park. Our veterans provide an irreplaceable service to our great state and nation and forever deserve the recognition they receive. Indeed, we are all indebted to these brave men and women who honorably served our nation. Today, as well as every day, is a time to thank them for their unrelenting commitment to our country. It is my hope that the dedicated bridge and monument will serve as daily reminders of a man committed to his community, our home, our state, and our entire nation. With warmest regards, Joe Manchin III, United States Senator. And then I also have a flag that U.S. Senator Joe Manchin flew over top the Capitol in Washington, D.C., just especially for this event. I have the flag, which we have a retired Army captain on our staff, and she folds these for us. So I want to present that. And also read a little certificate here that says, the flag of the United States of America. This is to certify that the accompanying flag was flown over the United States Capitol at the request of Senator Joe Manchin III. This flag was flown in honor of the Julius Cartwright Foster Memorial in recognition of Welch's Veterans Memorial Park. Joe Manchin III, United States Senator. Thank you all for allowing me to be here today.
Folks, I lost my notes. But anyway, I know that there's someone here from another office in the U.S. government, and I forgot his name, and I forgot what he's going to do, but I do know I want him up here. I'm sorry. It's a grant for you.
Appreciate it, guys. My name is Chad Story, and I'm a representative from Congressman Evan Jenkins' office. He's sorry he cannot be here today, so he sent me down. I have greetings from him, and we also had a flag flown over the United States Capitol in honor of Mr. Foster. I believe I could say that we could have 1,000 flags and still wouldn't even add up to the service that he'd given and the sacrifice he'd given to our country and our state. I have the greetings from the Congressman, special guests, veterans, and attendees. Thank you for the invitation to participate in this wonderful ceremony, and I'm sorry that I can't be with you today. This American flag was flown over the United States Capitol in honor of U.S. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Julius C. Corky Foster. It is my honor to have my staff present it to you at this memorial today. The memorial and this bridge will serve as a constant reminder of the ultimate sacrifice Mr. Foster made in defense of our great nation. West Virginians may know Mr. Foster best for his 1967 hike to North Carolina to re-enlist. He walked 400 miles in 31 days despite getting blisters in just the first 30 miles of his journey. Through each step, Mr. Foster publicly demonstrated his commitment to serve our nation and fulfill his duties in the Vietnam War. We all owe a debt of gratitude to Mr. Foster for his selfless service to our nation. Mr. Foster is truly an American hero and a legend in West Virginia, and he will forever be remembered. Let us always honor the sacrifices of Mr. Foster and every man and woman who has laid down their lives to defend our nation and the American way of life. Sincerely, Evan H. Jenkins, Member of Congress. And I also have the certificate. It says this is to certify that the accompanying flag was flown over the United States Capitol on July 6, 2015, at the request of the Honorable Evan Jenkins, Member of Congress. This flag was flown in honor of Julius Corky Foster for his devoted service to the United States Marines during the Vietnam War and his sacrifice on behalf of our great nation. Here's the certificate. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Okay, says here that I need to recognize some special people. I'm probably going to forget some people, but excuse me, and then you can beat up on me later when we go to lunch tonight. I'll buy you lunch, and maybe that'll get over it, huh? The two people that come to mind right now that I want to recognize is the gentleman that is sitting over here with this American flag right here. His name is Red McBride, 93 years old, and he swore today that he would not give that flag up. And he's going to be there with that flag even when he has to sit down and do so. So we do want to recognize Red. Remember the VFW, the Jaeger Post. One of the other people I want to recognize, and I think he's here, I met him once, is,
Somebody give him a name. Stand up.
Ed Shepard. Thank you. I just went blank. Mr. Ed Shepard, is he here today? Okay. Now, I tell you, I admire this man more than anybody, and because he was a Marine, a real Marine. He served in World War II, and Ed, believe it or not, continues to work today as he did forever. Ed, if you want to stand up here a minute with me. Ed was from a very famous Marine Corps unit, Edson's Raiders. You know, there were two of them. It was Edson's Raiders and Carlson's, and I never remember which one is which. So they were the 3rd Division, and you were 1st Division. Okay. And Ed has a service station in Welch, and he comes to work every day still. How old are you, Ed? 89? Yeah, you're 76, right?
I'll be 92 in about 2 weeks.
There's probably a dozen other people that I need to recognize, and I apologize for not getting them. The Vietnam Veterans of America is here. They were good in doing things.
We have a U.S. Navy veteran here, World War II, served in the South Pacific. He's got 70 years in the American Legion. Henry Paul. Please stand, Henry, be recognized. Come on. Thank you, Henry. Thank you all.
He's coming up. He's coming up.
Yay, Henry.
What's his name? Mr. Henry Paul. Thank you, Henry. Come on up here. World War II veterans and folks, there's not a lot of them left. Thank you so very much. 95 years young. Still going strong. Thank you so much. Okay, next we are going to have the dedication of the flagpole. Many of you know, when we started putting this memorial together, we were concerned about expenses, and one of the big expenses was going to be, how are we going to get a flagpole? Well, we ended up, I remembered something from many, many years ago when I was teaching high school, that there was an organization that donates a flag to any worthy cause. They're called the Woodmen of the World. And so they're here today. They donated this flagpole to us. Ms. Margaret Connor, is she available? Is Margaret here today? She's with the Woodman of the World.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to come here tonight to dedicate the flagpole for this honorable occasion. I represent Chapter 217 of Woodman Light. Woodman just changed their name to Woodman Light. It's no longer Woodman of the World, which is a fraternal life insurance society. We're celebrating 125 years of giving back. Woodman has presented 5,600 plus flagpoles and 2.5 million flags to churches, schools, fire stations, and other organizations since launching our patriotic program nearly 70 years ago. We applaud our veterans for their service and for those who gave their lives for our freedom, like Lance Corporal Foster. It's our honor to dedicate this flagpole that will hold the flag of our United States Marine Corps. God bless you and God bless America.
Thank you so much for that. Folks, the real dedication of this is going to take place over near the monument over here. What I'd like to do, and I know it's a hot day, and if you would, if the ones of you that would like to be a part of this and see it, if you would come over toward the flagpole and stand up. This is going to be just a little bit faster than the rest of it, okay? There are 4 people that's going to be involved in this. This is Catherine Disher and Lisa Randolph, the 2 nieces, the only living relatives that we can find that's a part of this. Peggy Miller was not here today. Annie Harmon is here. She will come over. Nancy Thomas is here. Nancy Harmon.
Corky was a symbol. A symbol of what most of us feel we as Americans would love. A symbol of what most of us feel as Americans would love with supreme devotion. America has been immortalized, the land of the free, the home of the brave. West Virginians have prided themselves in their motto, Montana Mountaineers are always free. McDowell County has zealously preserved the term, the Free State of McDowell. The reason for Corky's march and captivation and re-enlistment in the United States Marine Corps was the captivation by this McDowell County, West Virginia, and Americans who love freedom, which refuses to turn its back so long as liberty is in danger. Corky is a symbol of all of those who have made the supreme sacrifice for us in many wars and countless battlefields, and yet there is something unique about Corky and Welch. While this thought is fine, we would all agree with the fact, though he had already fulfilled his military obligations to his country, he voluntarily served his country in Vietnam. After a spectacular protest march 400 miles on the hills of his home in the sands of the Carolinas, only the Viet Cong could stop him. But he still marches on in our hearts and minds. This is what claims imagination, grips the heart, touches at your throat, and blurs your vision. He didn't have to do it. He did it because of his great love of liberty. He evidently felt that the anti-American protesters had reached a stomach-turning point, demanding that someone demonstrate that most Americans are such not only in name, but in heart and deed. Because he marched, we can all lift our heads above the shame of America. He evidently felt that the anti-American protest had reached a stomach-turning point, demanding that someone demonstrate that most Americans are such not only in name, but in heart and deed. Because he marched, we can all lift our heads above the shame of America. He lifted takes the distance of the dust in which the underground had done, and restored it to the pedestal of respect. Corky didn't just wave his flag, he flaunted it right in the face, every long beard, strung-locked hair, muddy-minded, grass-hard-burning, military service grad Dodging protest. Never before had this community been blessed with such an eye-catching, heartwarming symbol for ideals, maybe a very long time before such another happened. As such, we raise this memorial to the great spirit of this pack-carrying, sweat-dancing, foot-slocking, straight-thinking, this young man from the free hills of McDowell County, so that every American will never be able to forget it, that we will ever be reminded that the ideals and spirits that have made us great under God are demanded in every future generation if we are to remain a great nation. This memorial to Corky and the ideas of which he is the fifth symbol will help guarantee that patriotism will never become a lost word in our great nation. Yes, Corky was a symbol. What a great, may he rest in peace.
Ladies, would you unveil the mic?
song carols to the fold. God bless the United States Marine Corps. Well, this concludes the ceremony here. Now, as many of you know, anyone who got an invitation to this, we're having dinner at Raymond's in town. My daughter is here. She has your tickets for you. You got to have the ticket to get in. And if you would see her, she's over here at the place over here. So all of you, if you would, see her and get your tickets. Thank you all for coming, and God bless America, and God bless Corky Point. Thank you.
Bill.
Thank you.